Mazenta Z?
Or Z.
Or Z, okay. How did you first get together?
Originally, I knew Paul because I went to a gig that Paul went to, called The Scene, in an art gallery in Brighton. I don't know if that gallery is still there, but and then we discovered that we lived in Brighton, and then Paul did something called Brighton Ambience. So we'd done an EP together, and then Paul did this Brighton Ambience thing.
So what was Brighton Ambience?
Well,
Brighton Ambience, the idea was it was going to be an open improvisation electronic regular meetup for people who were interested in electronic music, had their own little portable setups. I think we started December or September of 2023.
Would have been, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a kind of a response to lockdown. A lot of people sort of started thinking, I need to get out.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly my interest in performing with electronic equipment has gestated through lockdown. My personal background is more improvised music, electroacoustic improvised music, but like everybody, all musicians I think found the same thing during lockdown. It's we're all at home, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You had endless Zoom meetings. I found that all my musician friends were talking about the latest bit of electronic kit that they were looking at, and suddenly it was like, yes, we can all do this. So my experience was spending a lot of time in Zoom meetings, actually doing music with electronics.
Literally live over Zoom meetings?
Yeah.
How did that work out?
Not very well. Patchy, sometimes it's good, sometimes. Zoom, you're always presented with an IT issue with Zoom. Every time you try and use it.
Every so often somebody releases some kind of internet link up thing where people can improvise together at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm never sure about how good they are.
There's always latency is the problem.
Yeah.
It's syncing everybody up and latency. Yeah. If syncing people doesn't matter, then it's okay. But if you have to sync people together, then it becomes a problem. So there's Zoom, but there's also other things like a thing called Jam Kazam, which I tried to use, but it was no good for me. There's a new thing called Mooz, which I don't know if you've seen. MOOZ. It's supposed to be for music teachers doing Zoom lessons. Remote lessons. Now I've looked at it and I saw, it's very expensive in terms of subscription, so I haven't tried it. So I don't know whether it's any good or not.
Give us a free trial.
Yeah. But it's always latency that is the problem, especially if you're trying to sync people together.
If you're working in the more ambient field, so I would guess you would describe yourself as ambient / drone / what would you call yourself? Describe your music in one word.
I don't think we can really.
It is ambient music. It's ambient electronic music. Without composition.
Yeah.
But with structure sometimes.
Yeah. So you two met together.
The
first time.
We have a mutual friend, Phil Durrant, who's a composer and electronic musician and improviser who's based in London. And he was part of the scene grouping at that concert at Onca Gallery. And it turned out that you're school friends.
Yeah, we went to school together. So Phil invited me, and I always come to his gigs whenever he's playing down here, because it's sort of close enough to actually go, but not actually close enough to actually enjoy it, if you see what I mean. Because if you go to a gig in London, by the time you've got to get back,
logistics,
that's normally when things are just starting to happen.
Yeah,
sometimes you miss the last.
You miss the last set.
And,
you miss the last set. So I always come along and watch Phil whenever he's playing down here.
So Phil introduced you.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
And did you? How soon after that was it you started? And you've been an improvisational musician as well.
For a long time. Yeah. I started at university, and I was in a band called the Hector Brissett All Stars, which we were influenced by Sun Ra and Albert Ayler. And we used to gig around the Midlands, and we actually did a gig with Lol Coxell at one point, but then there again he gigs with everybody, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure it actually.
So you got you've already been working individually. Paul,
so
tell us about your.
Yeah. Okay. So I played guitar and actually Hammond organ in bands when I was younger, and then when I left England to live in Japan, where I was for some decades, I was playing in a band in Japan, which was great. It was sort of psychedelic rock band. But we came back to Britain about 15 years ago, and I was just busy, and I didn't really think to do music, except just playing the guitar on my own at home. But I've always played the same kind of music. And when I was at university, I had a very good friend who was the official biographer of John Cage. And he sadly passed away last year. Very, very sad thing. He was a composer in residence, he was a musician, and he got me really into this working with tape loops. So I used to, this was back in the 80s, I had a copycat, which is all you needed, and I put a funky switch on it which turned off the erase head. You know what I'm talking about, with a copycat, tape loop echo, which allowed infinite repeats to build up. And I was also playing it through a Leslie speaker and various very primitive effects. But to date me, it was actually a miners' benefit in Durham. So it was. I was playing the keyboards then mostly with my elbow, and there was a guitarist who was very heavily into Robert Fripp, and there was this amazing guy who had 2 reel-to-reel tape recorders, and he'd record into one and then send the tape into the other for playback, and then re-record it with a microphone. And this is probably, early 80s, so very early Frippertronics, and we played in front of, I think it was the, what was it called? Protect and Survive. Was it the government nuclear fallout?
Oh yeah,
film was projected over us as we played upstairs in a pub in Durham, I think, or somewhere, I can't. But anyway, so I came back and I basically built up the pedals, mostly presents from the family, which I had very little choice in. Then I saw an advert for Brighton Ambience, and I hadn't realised that there was such a music. I didn't realise I was completely in the dark. I didn't know that it really existed and people played it. And I plucked up the courage to go along, and it seemed to work.
Well, how soon was it before you all realised that you needed to be together as a unit?
I think it was basically when just 3 of us went to one of the Brighton Ambience, and it just worked.
Yeah. And did you play together there at first? How does that work? Is it like people get up and like an open mic?
No, it's literally a sort of formless one long jam. Everybody does whatever they want. There's no rules or direction from me. It's literally, the only rule is it's electronic and it's ambient in style. So,
So unlike the EMOM, it's not sections.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not as organised as an EMOM.
Where does it happen?
Well, we've been using the upstairs room at the Caroline of Brunswick mostly. There's been occasional.
We did one at Brunswick, didn't we?
In Hove.
In Hove, when we had an offer of a free room for an afternoon.
But we ended up using here for a session when we couldn't get anywhere else, and I said, well, it's bedroom volume, and then we've got a friendly neighbour, and we've got the space, so I invited the guys here, and then there were 3 of us, and we found it worked.
some of the music is actually quite soothing. I was listening on the way up here, and it made me. It's quite a hot day today, and it made me feel like I could actually make it up the hill because it's got that chilling, cool, like calming effect. So I can't imagine you getting many complaints from your neighbours.
It's low volume, so and the reason it's low volume is so that we can hear what's going on. I mean, the problem with a lot of bands is that a lot of the time you can't hear what the other person's doing. So it's essential for us to be able to hear what each of us are doing. Of
course. Well, I mean, you're totally improvised. It's like the old thing about learning to paint. To paint, you need to look. To improvise, you need to listen.
Exactly.
Rather than be playing your own thing. So, I mean, if I could ask, can you put your finger on why improvisation is so important for you?
Well, partly it's the freedom to explore. Also, when you do it, you come across the unexpected. So there are moments when suddenly it sounds fantastic, and you're always searching for those moments, I think. And when it doesn't go well, then you're basically almost sort of not finding the right groove or the right ambience, and sometimes you have to work at it.
But in terms of the process of how you decide, that's a good bit, or is anyone in charge?
No, not really. No.
Have you ever disagreed about what constitutes the sweet spot of something?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, not really.
Not really.
Amazing. So you record live, straight down, no overdubbing.
No, that's right.
And I'm assuming, like, once it's down, then what happens? Do you
I take it away to edit, and I sort of run it into innuendo, and then because basically we have separation, so each one of us is separate when we record, because this is a multi-track recorder. I can then do a little bit of editing, and basically what that tends to mean is that when you've got, say, two instruments on the same frequency levels, they tend to mask each other out. So part of the mixing process is actually to make sure that everything can be heard. And that might mean, sort of panning one person to the left, another person to the right, maybe sort of doing a little bit of EQ to make sure that, the frequencies aren't clashing.
But nothing really, nothing creative happened, nothing that's actually going to change.
No. Well, I keep what's down intact. What I find interesting though is that when I've mixed something, the two Pauls say, "I don't know what I played." And I have to send them the stems. So and that is the way that the music is well integrated, is because often when we listen back to it, did we play that?
I think that's really interesting about this project, though, the fact that it becomes, as a trio, the music becomes one thing. So everything kind of gels together really nicely in terms of our choices of material and process or technique, and it's kind of, for me, that's what's really interesting, is generally we end up with a very well-rounded result where there isn't any sort of, like, for example, if we had an acoustic piano one week, suddenly I think we'd get a very, very different result.
So I'm trying to imagine the situation. So you sit down together, you've just plugged everything in, you're about to start. Now, is there any trigger or impetus or stump, does somebody say, right, chocolate ice cream, go?
No,
Nothing happens.
No, but I mean, that's not to say that we don't think about the session beforehand and think about what we're going to bring to it.
And do you talk to each other?
Not really.
Not so much.
Not so much. I mean, for example, I have quite a lot of stuff on my iPad that I could bring. I've got lots of stuff, and I sort of decide beforehand, well, that might work, and I'll bring that, and then we'll see what happens, So there's just a little bit of thought beforehand.
Right, so bringing little surprises to give to the
other two. And I'm sure the other two Pauls.
It's often introducing new tech. Somebody's got a new pedal,
Yeah.
And that may be a trigger for a whole new sound. Well, it might be, yeah, because I've started using a new pedal. Typically Roger.
Well, I mean, that's because the iPad's got so many amazing stuff that is really cheap.
You've just released your first album. There it is. Tell me all about it.
It was recorded in one day.
Right.
Okay. It was in here. What was say the date on that?
January.
January.
End of January.
So we recorded it in one day. There were 2 other tracks that we did, but we sort of. So what would happen is I would take this, I would send guys a listening copy, and we all decided that these particular 3 were the best.
So was there an awful lot of material from that one day?
It's about half of it.
Half of it, yeah.
So this is what I'm interested in: is the editing process. How do you decide?
Well, that's the point at which we make a point of communicating, because everybody, after every session, because we record every session, we'll go home, whoever's recorded, we'll send the stems, we'll listen, and over the next week or so, each one of us will decide which our favourite parts are, and then we'll talk about it together, either by text or at the next session.
Yeah.
And by slowly kind of making notes and getting an idea of what we all think are the most successful sections.
And there hasn't been any disagreements.
No,
not so far. No.
The first track on the album, Purple Plume, sounds very much like, okay, so there's a moment where it changes key slightly and there's a drop down, and it feels so beautifully and well prepared and complete like this. It feels like the almost like a Spirit of Eden or Laughing Stock Talk era. This is the beginning of the track, and this is the beginning of the album. It's such an opening, welcoming thing. It boggles my mind that wasn't sat down and you're going to drop from there to there at this moment, and then the track starts, and that didn't happen.
No, we just happened.
Do you believe in telepathy?
No, I believe in experience, really, because both of us, both me and Paul, have been improvising for a long time. Yeah. And you get experienced at it, so it comes down to listening to what other people are doing.
What Roger said earlier about being able to hear each other, but it's not hearing, it's listening to.
Listening, yeah.
And I think that's a really big part. I mean, and having a sense of where it might go, which seems to be a fairly shared sense. You're right, a lot of it dovetails, and there are nodes and transition points which seem to play off each other, but I think sometimes I sense a very, very minute change happening and try to respond to it.
Yeah.
Instead of continuing and fighting it, and I hope the others are doing the same. You hear perhaps some signal, or you sense a signal that there's going to be a change.
It really does sound like that. I mean, I didn't mean to be implying that you made it. You wrote that bit first and played it, didn't you? I wasn't trying to say that. What I'm saying is that actually seems like evidence of absolutely what you're saying. Like, you're completely in tune with each other. How long have you been playing, really, together?
Since beginning of Brian. Well, it's not 23.
A year and a half.
Yeah.
So you're finely tuned. You're like trembling reeds on the wind with each other.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I said. That sort of at one occasion at Brighton Ambience, there's only 3 of us, and it just worked. So if it works, you go with it.
At any stage, we've talked about basically improvising and listening to each other, and that's where the thing creates itself, and as long as you're paying attention, you can follow it where it's going. Yeah. Is there any situation where you think you may use another starting point, even not a musical starting point, perhaps even a visual starting point?
The actual original recordings, you often find there's about 2 or 3 minutes of nothing happening. So, it's a bit like, you're starting and you're just noodling a bit, not a great deal is happening. And then, we would chop that out and the main bit would continue.
Do you want to talk about your score a little bit? Because that's a good example of an alternate.
We haven't tried it yet,
method,
but it's the next.
Okay,
stage.
Yeah. Well, I had this played at the weekend by Two very good musicians.
Adam Bushell
And
Bella
Emerson.
Emerson.
So it's a graphics score.
So are you thinking of using this for yourself?
We're thinking of playing that at some point if you know, the guys want to do it. I mean, it's going to be part of a larger project, so there's going to be a series of graphic scores. How that works is that each player sort of has a start point, and then you navigate through the map to get to the end, to the north symbol there.
Yeah.
And they have to interpret each element as they go. I'm not instructing them what the elements in the map mean. They have to work that out, and by listening together, they do that.
Guided improvisation.
Yes, guided improvisation. And the thing about graphic scores is that they would, because the technology had changed, they're starting to use tapes. You know, people like Stockhausen starting to use tapes and sine wave generators and all that kind of stuff. Traditional notation can't cope with that. So effectively what you're doing is you're creating a whole new notation system for the music that you're trying to create. And
so there's a possibility that your journey might change, because if you just start using another an injection of something at the beginning before you begin, do you think it will change the way you sound, or is it?
I've no idea. I don't know.
That's going to be the interesting thing, I think, because
Yeah.
we've not attempted anything like this as a trio before, and well, depending how we find it, perhaps we won't do a lot of it in the future. I mean, it's not something that we've talked about, you know, changing our approach. I find it interesting as an exercise.
Yeah.
Something that we haven't done before.
I don't think it'll take over.
So I saw you play live. I didn't notice coffees and chatting at the beginning, because obviously there was a heightened performance situation going on. So coffee and chatting is not appropriate.
Well, I think we just look at each other. Everybody all right? Can we hear each other? Let's go.
And
there you go.
Somebody starts, somebody does something. That's all that happens.
Well, that's when it becomes like any other band, isn't it? You have a sound check prior to the audience turning up, and you make sure everything's the way it should be, and when you're ready to start, it's go.
It's possible the score could change the way you play live, is it? 'Cause I'm guessing you don't recreate songs.
It could be. I mean, it depends on the kind of live opportunities that we're likely to get. Yeah. So, say for example, somebody asks us to do something with a dancer or something like that, then the score might come in, might come into it, you know, or you know, maybe somebody wants us to do something in a gallery or something like that. Then, we might do a score, but it's, you know, it's just another thing that we can do.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about, if it's okay, was to have a look at your what you're using. So if that's all right, we just thanks very much, and let me remind myself of you tell me the pronunciation again.
Well, I'd say Mazenta Z.
Mazenta Z.
Mazenta
Z, sorry.
Yes.
Well, it can be Z, or it's actually short for zebra or zebra.
Okay. And which is it for you, zebra or zebra?
Yes.
Okay. Are we Zeds over here?
I'm Zeds.
You're a Z. What about you?
Oh, I'm Zed.
Yeah.
I'll go with Zed.
I had a feeling you'd both be Zeds. I don't know why. You're
ambiguous.
a Z.
I'm ambiguous. Depends on the day.
All right. Thanks for having me in your house. And thanks for letting me watch you play. So, Paul, if you could give us a little tour of what you've
guided
got.
tour.
Yeah.
These are my favourite devices.
I
mean, when I used to play guitar in bands when I was a teenager, I picked up a Roland Space Echo dirt cheap, but it was a 301 version, which has the capacity to make primitive loops.
Right.
It has the sound on sound function, which the Strymon El Capitan emulates really, really well. So I don't use them as delay pedals. I literally use them in all the time as in loop mode.
Sort of double looper there.
Yes.
What's the Chase Bliss mood?
The mood is a micro looper on one side and a delay stroke reverb stroke slip, they call it, which is another tape emulation kind of concept, where the idea is you're slowing a tape down or speeding it up in real time, so it's emulating that.
So we've got 3 sets of different flavours of tape.
Yes,
going on,
and then that's just reverb.
Yeah.
Just a good quality reverb.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Nice. And let's come up to here.
This is the main. Yeah, this is the main sound source.
The beautiful
it's a Soma Lyra 8 synthesizer. Again, it's got its own. It's got its own mood.
Is it? How long have you had it? I mean, have you developed a real relationship now?
Yeah, I've had it a couple of years, and I acquired it secondhand from a friend of mine, who he found it a little bit too wayward and uncontrollable. And when he told me that, I thought that's the synth for me. Which is exactly why I love using it, because you don't really know what it's going to do. I mean, you can understand the controls to a certain point and read the manual. And it's almost the ideal Mazenta Z synth, isn't it? With the kind of you're journeying with it. Indeed. Well, it's kind of it's like the guy at the front with the map.
So Roger, can we have a look at what you've got in front of you?
Oh, okay.
Quite a lot of stuff here.
Okay. Well, there's the Arturia Keystep 37. What it does do that is brilliant is you can just basically change the MIDI just like that.
Yeah.
So the way that this works is that I can control everything from here just by changing MIDI channels. So I can go into the Pro 800, I can go into the sampler, and I can go into my stuff on my iPad. On the iPad, there is a Fender Rhodes, right? I also have this thing. Oops, dear. Yeah, I also have this multi-sampler, which basically does acoustic instruments. So there's got a marimba in there at the moment, but I can do violins or whatever, and the rest is basically the live stuff coming from the sampler and the Pro 800.
So you've got the Roland Ira Boutique. Which one's that? That's the P-
No, this is the P6.
P6, and you were telling me earlier that's a cut down version of
their larger one. I can't remember what larger one's called, but
the 404.
So this only has six eighths, about whatever 6 times 8 is. 6 eighths.
48.
48. It's only got 48 samples in it. But but if you're doing it live,
let's just take that sentence back to 1982.
It's and it's a very interesting thing, So.
Yeah. And as if by magic, we're outside. So if Paul, I'm going to call you Paul 1 and Paul 2. Sorry, that's really unfair because I knew you first. But if Paul's the map guy, would you call yourself the brains of the outfit?
No. No, I just put random stuff together. That's all. That's actually. Oh, come on. There we go. So.
And all of that's going into the H6.
That's
the recording.
That's all going into the H6.
And so you've got the Pro 800 over here. How are you getting on with this?
I love it. Absolutely fantastic. When Sequential Circuits made the Pro 800, it was supposedly a cheaper Prophet 5. It wasn't a success because they got the envelopes incorrect on it. And there's a guy called Giggly who did loads of mods to it, and they basically recreated it with all the Giggly mods. So the modulation is slightly different from Prophet 5, but you can actually get Prophet 5 sounds out of it, and it sounds absolutely wonderful.
I mean, it looks like roughly the same architecture as Prophet 5.
Yeah, so.
And there's the cross mod.
Yeah.
The classic Sequential Circuits cross mod thing going on there.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So it's also got, so it's all analog inside, but it's all digitally controlled. So you've got,
which is like the original.
I mean, if you open this up and look on the inside, it doesn't look anything like the original. It's all been re-engineered. All of it's been re-engineered.
Not merely copied, but
not merely copied, but re-engineered. Yeah.
Amazing. So thank you, Paul. I mean, you're the axe wielding gentleman in this unit.
My aim is to make it sound as little like a guitar as possible. I have a Hammond organ in the other room, but it's a lot harder to carry around.
Yes. Tell me about your pedal boards.
It's really very, very simple. There's nothing flash in here at all. They're very much off the shelf pedals. A fuzz, and I'm a little bit inspired by Igor Fröser's guitar playing, Tangerine Dream, early 70s.
So where do we start? It comes from here.
It goes into a high impedance volume pedal, which is great for ambient music. The fuzz really needs to be first because it's a high impedance. It picks up the pedals into a touch wah. It's the Dunlop touch wah, so it hasn't got a click, hasn't got a switch. It just it's operated by foot pressure. Into the Beano Boost, it's just a treble overdrive, and the transistor he takes individually. These are from 1960s Japanese defunct electric organ, so it's a germanium transistor, but he chooses them individually. A little bit of compression, a little bit of overdrive, and a phaser, a flanger, delay. I like Mr. Black pedals. They're not well known in Britain, and it's a low latency octaver, but I often use it for the bottom end. It's quite good because we sometimes don't have much bass here, so I can add a bit of extra bass with the bottom end on that. The latency is not great, but it gives us a bit of a boom. I really like these. The Mr. Black Deluxe Plus. It's a tremolo and a reverb. I hadn't got a Strymon, but the reviews compare these quite well to Strymons. But it's a lovely, very drippy, wet reverb. And look at the pedal; it's got palm trees on it. I mean, what more could you ask? But the main tool I'm using a lot is this little gadget, which I'm sure everybody will know, which is an EBO. And in conjunction with the octaver, especially if I turn the top octave up, helps get over the fact it's monophonic. And then with a bit of an effect on it, works very well with the tremolo. Turn the volume down because it's so powerful, and then turn the tone down, and you get a bit of a flute. And with the volume up, you get a little bit more of a cello. Although that one sounds more like a flute, actually. There's the unpredictability of the...
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for letting us look